Bonus characters have been around in Fire Emblem for a long time now as a way to keep players engaged for future playthroughs and extra modes. Sometimes they're free rewards, sometimes they're weird experiments, but they're certainly always interesting. Today, we're going to trace the history of these characters from when bonus characters first made their appearances, all the way up to their modern day appearances we see in Engage. And be warned, there will be spoilers ahead for many of these games. The first instance of bonus characters making their appearance in Fire Emblem was in Fire Emblem 6, The Binding Blade. Each time you beat the game, you'd unlock a new playable unit for use in the trial maps, a series of maps unlocked by beating the game in various ways or through promotional events. You could unlock up to 8 characters this way, with the order of their appearance being Narshan, Galle, Hector, Runya, Eliwood, Murdoch, Zephiel, and finally Guinevere after beating the game a whopping 9 times. While they can't support with any of the existing cast, this was a fun way to keep the player engaged across many playthroughs. The most notable bonus characters you could unlock were the final two, Zephiel and Guinevere, who each offered something unique. Zephiel had the unique class of King and allowed the player access to the final legendary weapon and the only one they couldn't use in a normal playthrough, Ekisax. Meanwhile, his sister Guinevere was uniquely able to use light magic as a sage, something no other unit could do. Fire Emblem 8, The Sacred Stones, saw the return of bonus characters through a unique variation on the trial maps called the Creature Campaign. By ascending 2 multi-floor dungeons known as the Tower of Volney and the Lagdo Ruins, players could unlock various characters seen throughout the main campaign for use in this post-game mode. Unfortunately, these characters could not be used in the Link Arena and were merely there to mess around with in the Creature Campaign, somewhat limiting their fun potential. The most interesting of these characters are Fado, who comes with the Master Seal, Ismare, who comes with the Master Seal and the game's only usable Windsword, and Leon, who comes with his unique class and the tome, the Naglfar. Path of Radiance saw the return of trial maps in the same format as the Binding Blade, though with significantly fewer bonus characters to recruit spread out across a far greater number of playthroughs. For beating the game 3 times, you unlocked Oliver. For 5 clears, you got Chiharum. For 7, you unlocked Patrine. At 10 clears, you unlocked Bryce. And finally, after beating the game a massive 15 times, you unlocked Ashnard as a playable character for these bonus maps. As you can imagine, Ashnard is quite a bit of fun to play around with on these maps, but the other characters are rather lackluster. Fire Emblem 10, Radiant Dawn, is where things really start to get interesting as far as bonus characters go. While there are no trial maps or a bonus mode to play in, Radiant Dawn is the first game in the series to offer New Game Plus content. This uniquely allows you to recruit 2 characters you otherwise couldn't in a first-time playthrough. From the second playthrough on, you will have the option to spare Peleus' life, and in so doing, you will join your army in Part 4 Chapter 2 as the only playable Dark Sage in the entirety of Teleus. But there is one more character who can join your army after your first playthrough, and they only do so right at the end of the game if very specific conditions are met. Provided that you deployed the Black Knight in the final chapter of Part 1 and had Ike in the Black Knight fight in Part 3 Chapter 7, Sephiroth will join your army from turn 1 of the final chapter of the game. Uniquely, he has SS ranks in Light, Dark, and Healing Magic, and comes with the game's only copy of the Ashera Staff. In addition to this, he possesses the skill Mantle, which grants him the effects of Nile and Fortune, and will also restore his HP by a staggering 40 points each turn. Shadow Dragon's bonus characters are actually quite unique, and the only way to obtain them is to avoid playing on hard mode. While many characters can be recruited in Shadow Dragon by killing off chunks of your army, most of these units can be obtained on any difficulty. Frey and Norn are the exception to this rule, with Frey joining automatically during the prologue, and Norn joining after if you allow a unit other than the sacrifice to die during the prologue. While Norn is effectively a slightly worse version of Gordon, Frey is actually a very solid unit, striking a balance of sorts between the stats of Cain and Abel. On a first playthrough, he can be just as good, if not better, than the other 2 Cavaliers, and is definitely worth taking with you into the main story. Fire Emblem Awakening is unique in that it technically offered many units across the entire franchise as bonus units called Einherjar through the use of a feature called Spot Pass. However, none of these Einherjar were fully fleshed out characters and were effectively worse than any unit a player might already have in their army, barring a few exceptions. Notably, however, there were 6 non-Einherjar characters you could recruit through Spot Pass by defeating the bonus maps these characters were present in. 5 of which were characters present throughout the main campaign. These characters were Gangrel, Walhart, Emerin, Yenfei, Aversa, and Priam. Among these, Walhart and Priam were by far the most interesting, thanks to the unique class and weapon available to Walhart, and Priam bringing with him the Ragnow. In addition, Priam is heavily implied to be a descendant of Ike, which leads one to wonder just how he ended up in Valm of all places. Fire Emblem Fates had an interesting take on bonus characters. Uniquely, the player could acquire Marth, Ike, Robin, and Lucina in their army by scanning each amiibo 3 separate times and defeating them in battle thereafter. None of these characters have secondary classes, but they can make use of DLC seals. They also lack personal skills, but come with their own signature weapons, which cannot be removed from their inventories. The player can acquire weaker versions of these weapons by scanning the amiibos again after recruiting them, causing them to appear in the armories selling their counterfeit versions. In addition to these amiibo characters, Anna is recruitable as a fully functioning character with her own unique skill and secondary class through DLC. Her skill is called Make a Killing, which gives her a luck percentage chance to obtain a random amount of gold when defeating an enemy. By combining this with the merchant class skill Profiteer, Anna can provide your army with a lot of quick and easy money. However, her only possible support partners are Corrin and Kana, and as such, she can feel somewhat like an incomplete character at times. Shadows of Valentia once again makes use of the amiibo system, allowing players to summon illusory copies of any Fire Emblem amiibo at the cost of all Marcelica spending 10 HP. These characters last only until the end of their turn in combat, and if the amiibo scanned is Chrom, Tiki, Byleth, or any non-Fire Emblem amiibo, 1 to 3 generic units will spawn instead. Uniquely though, these summoned units can be humans or terrors, and are the only way to have allied terrors on your side. In addition, the game has 4 fully fleshed out DLC characters obtainable through playing their extra chapters, all originating from the Fire Emblem Cypher card game. These unique characters are Emma, Randall, Yuzu, and Shade, and each offer something unique to your army. Shade offers the earliest possible access to silence and freeze, as well as possessing the powerful physic for early ranged healing. Yuzu brings the Warrior's Sword, which boasts a high critical rate as well as a skill that is effective against armored units. Randall brings his Wayward Lance, which has the weapon skill Heaven or Hell, greatly increasing the critical rate of attacks at the cost of accuracy, but also guaranteeing a follow-up attack. Finally, Emma comes with the Trainee's Lance, allowing a unit to use the weapon skill Solo Triangle Attack, and attack 3 times consecutively. In 3 Houses, Anna once again returns as a playable character through DLC and brings a new paralogue along with her. However, she does not have support conversations with any character. As if to somewhat mitigate this, she possesses a major crest of Earnest. The real bonus characters of 3 Houses, though, are definitely the Ashen Wolves. One must play through at least Chapter 6 of the Cindered Shadows campaign to unlock all 4 of them, with each of them then being able to be recruited in the main campaign for free at any time the player desires. They each uniquely possess the crests of the 4 Apostles, and unlock a couple of chapters by recruiting them, allowing players to obtain the Fetters of Dromi and the Vajramushti. The most unique of the bunch is arguably Happy, whose personal skill allows all of her attacks to become effective against monster-type enemies. The final set of bonus characters we'll be talking about are from the most recent entry as of the time of this video, Fire Emblem Engage. All of these characters are obtained by completing the Fel Xenologue, with Nell and Rafal being by far the most interesting thanks to their unique ability to wield the Fel Stones. The other characters do have their appeal though, with every single one of them having unique personal skills, as well as support conversations with one another and a small number of other characters. Unfortunately, you'll have to complete the Fel Xenologue again on each new playthrough in which you want to use them, making recruiting these units a tedious process. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. I guess if there's anything to take away from this, it's that bonus characters are never consistent in how they show up. Sometimes they're free rewards, sometimes they're post-game jokes, and sometimes they're paid DLC that can completely break the game's balance. But the one constant is this: intelligent systems will always find a way to dangle a shiny new unit in front of us, regardless of whether or not it makes sense. And we, as players, will always say, sure, why not? Add Lucina to Fates. Put a possessed goth girl in Valentia. Let me summon Marth's ghost. I'll buy it. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and click the bell if you'd like to get notified when I post a new video. A special thank you to my patron 60 Sweeping Gorilla Danny for subscribing at the Paladin tier and helping to keep this channel going. I'd really appreciate it if you checked out the links in the description if you can. But otherwise, have a great rest of your day.